3 months before I was supposed to marry Jason Carter, my fiancé started talking about upgrading his life. I just didn't realize I was the thing he planned to replace. My name is Lolita Seeley. I was 29 then, and Jason was 27. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for one, and until that winter, I truly believed we were solid. Then Jason changed. First came the new gym routine, then expensive skincare, designer shirts, and hours spent staring at his phone. His Instagram filled with motivational quotes about times knowing your worth, leveling up, and times refusing to settle. Whenever I asked what was going on, he'd smile like I was being ridiculous. "I'm investing in myself, Lolita. You should support that." So I tried. Then Brianna Cole started appearing in conversations. "You know Brianna's startup is really taking off." Brianna was one of Jason's coworkers. For months, she'd supposedly been messaging him about work. "She just bought a Model S," he told me one evening. "Good for her." Jason stared at me. "That doesn't bother you? Why would somebody else's car bother me?" His expression tightened. "That should have told me everything. I made decent money as a project manager. We had a comfortable apartment. I'd supported Jason through his degree, introduced him to people in my professional network, and covered most of our expenses while he was trying to establish himself." Apparently, comfortable had become another word for mediocre. 2 weeks before everything collapsed, I opened Instagram and saw Jason's newest post. He was sitting in an upscale restaurant looking directly into the camera. "Upgrading soon. Know your worth. Level up." His friends flooded the comments with fire emojis. Then, I saw Brianna's. "Soon." I stared at those 2 words for several minutes. Then I commented one word. "Same." Jason saw it almost immediately. He came storming into the living room holding his phone. "What is that supposed to mean?" I looked up. "What's your post supposed to mean?" "Personal growth." With Brianna commenting, "Soon?" His face reddened. "She's supporting my journey." "What journey?" "Becoming my best self. Maybe if you weren't so complacent, you'd understand." Complacent. After 4 years of supporting him, that word landed harder than he intended. I nodded slowly. "You're right." Jason blinked. "Finally, I have been complacent." His shoulders relaxed. "Exactly. So maybe now you'll—" "I've been complacent about pretending I don't see what's happening between you and Brianna." Silence. His expression changed instantly. "How dare you?" "Then explain the upgrade." "It's not like that." "Fine. I'll message Brianna." His grip tightened around his phone. "You're being controlling." That was when I knew. Not because he admitted anything. Because he was more afraid of me asking Brianna than he was of losing my trust. Jason paced toward the window. Finally, he said, "Maybe we should postpone the wedding." There it was. "Why?" "I need time." "For what?" "To explore my options." I almost laughed. "You mean Brianna?" "This isn't about her." "Then you won't mind me asking her?" Silence again. I stood. "Okay." Jason looked relieved. "Thank you. I knew you'd eventually understand." "You misunderstood me. The wedding isn't postponed." His smile vanished. "It's canceled." "What?" "If you need to explore your options after 4 years, you're free to do that." "Lolita, don't be dramatic." "I'm not." His eyes filled with tears, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry ones. "You're throwing away 4 years over a misunderstanding?" "No, Jason. You're throwing away 4 years because you think something better is waiting outside." He packed a bag and left to stay with a friend. Before walking out, he pulled off his engagement ring and dropped it onto the console table. I stared at it for a long time after the door closed. Then my phone buzzed. Nathan, Jason's 25-year-old younger brother, saw Jason's post. "Are you okay?" Nathan and I had always gotten along. He was quieter than Jason, studying for his master's in education and seemingly immune to the family's obsession with appearances. Wedding's off. His reply came instantly. What? Can I call you? We talked for almost 2 hours. Eventually, Nathan became quiet. There's something you should know. My stomach tightened. What? Jason's been talking about Brianna for months. I closed my eyes. Nathan continued reluctantly. He said she was obsessed with him, and he kept saying he could do better. Better than me? Another pause. He called you his starter girlfriend. That hurt more than the Instagram post, more than Brianna, more than the canceled wedding. He actually said that? More than once. Nathan sounded disgusted. He thinks Brianna is wife material because she has money, a Tesla, and some startup. What does her startup even do? Nathan started laughing. Organic CBD dog treats. Despite everything, I laughed too. It was the first time I'd laughed all night. After that, we stopped talking about Jason. We talked about Nathan's students, books, bad movies, and childhood stories I'd somehow never heard despite knowing his family for 4 years. When we finally hung up, I realized something uncomfortable. That conversation had felt easier than almost any conversation I'd had with Jason in months. The next morning, someone knocked hard on my apartment door. Jason was standing outside. Brianna was beside him. She wore an expensive coat and the expression of someone who'd been dragged into a meeting she hadn't prepared for. "We need to discuss this like adults," Jason announced. I looked at Brianna. "Why is she here?" "For support, and to clear up your misunderstandings." Brianna awkwardly extended her hand. "Hey, no hard feelings. Jason and I are just friends." I didn't take it. Friends who are upgrading together. Brianna's eyebrows lifted. She looked at Jason. Upgrading? Interesting. Jason hadn't told her everything either. "Lolita," he snapped. "I've been thinking. Maybe we can fix this." I stared at him. "But things need to change. I'm growing, and you need to grow too. Brianna's even offered to help mentor you professionally." That did it. The woman selling CBD dog treats was apparently going to mentor me in business. I laughed. "Get out!" Jason's mouth dropped open. "You can't kick me out. I live here. Your name isn't on the lease. This is my home. It was. Now you're an unwanted guest." Brianna touched his arm. "Jason, let's just leave." His face twisted. "You're going to regret this, Lolita. I was the best thing that ever happened to you." I opened the door wider. "Then I guess I'll have to downgrade." Brianna actually hid a smile. Jason saw it. That somehow made him even angrier. They left. That evening, Nathan texted. "Heard Jason showed up with Brianna. You okay?" "I'm fine. Coffee tomorrow? I could use a friend." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. "It's a date." Another message followed immediately. I mean, not a date. Unless... Forget I said that. "Coffee." I stared at the screen longer than I should have, then smiled. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became a walk through the park. Nathan was funny without needing an audience. He asked questions and actually listened to my answers. He didn't photograph his coffee or check who had viewed his stories. Eventually, he shoved his hands into his pockets. "This is weird, right?" "A little. You were supposed to marry my brother. Your brother wanted to explore his options." Nathan looked at me. "And what are you doing?" I held his gaze. "Maybe exploring mine." He smiled, and my stomach flipped. Neither of us knew it yet, but Jason was about to discover that the woman he'd discarded wasn't sitting at home waiting for him to finish upgrading, and when he found out who I was moving on with, losing the wedding would become the least of his problems. Coffee with Nathan turned into something neither of us wanted to name too quickly. We weren't hiding, but we weren't announcing anything either. After 4 years with Jason, being around someone who didn't treat every moment like content felt strangely peaceful. Jason, meanwhile, was doing the opposite. His Instagram became a campaign. Quotes about escaping toxic relationships. Posts about choosing people who matched his ambition. His friends filled the comments with congratulations. Then came the photograph. Jason and Brianna at an expensive restaurant. His caption read, "Upgraded, Sometimes you have to let go of bronze to grab gold. I stared at it, screenshotted it, and commented, "Congratulations on the upgrade. I'm happy with my choice too." My phone exploded within minutes. What choice? Who are you seeing? Are you trying to make me jealous? I ignored every message. The funny part was that I'd already reserved that same restaurant weeks earlier for Jason's birthday. The reservation was non-refundable. So the next evening, I took Nathan. Maybe that was slightly petty, but the dinner was wonderful. Nathan actually ate his food instead of photographing it from 6 angles. We laughed about his students and argued over whether Times Die Hard Times counted as a Christmas movie. Then, halfway through dessert, Nathan suddenly stopped smiling. "Oh no. What?" He glanced over my shoulder. I turned. Jason and Brianna were sitting 3 tables away. Jason saw us at exactly the same moment. His expression went from confusion to disbelief to rage. He stood so quickly his chair scraped across the floor. "You've got to be kidding me." Several people turned. "Hi, Jason," Nathan said calmly. Jason pointed at me. "You're with her?" "Apparently. My fiancé?" "Ex-fiancé," I corrected. "You wanted to upgrade, remember?" Jason looked at Nathan. "This is sick. You're my brother." Nathan slowly stood. "And you're the one who threw away a woman who supported you for 4 years because someone had a nicer car?" Brianna shifted uncomfortably. Jason snapped, "She's an entrepreneur. She sells CBD dog treats." Nathan paused. "And her Tesla is leased." Brianna went red. "That's a smart financial decision." I nearly laughed. A manager approached and asked Jason to lower his voice. Jason ignored him. He looked at Nathan. "You're dead to me." Nathan sat back down. "Okay, Lolita, pass the salt." Jason made a furious sound and stormed away, Brianna following behind him. The restaurant slowly returned to normal. Nathan looked at me. Well, Christmas is going to be terrible," I laughed. He did too, but Jason wasn't finished. 2 days later, my boss called me into his office. "Lolita, your ex-fiancé called." My stomach sank. "What did he say?" "That you're harassing him and creating a hostile work environment." I stared at him. "We don't work together." "I know." My boss had met Jason at several company events. He also remembered Jason getting drunk at one of them and arguing with a bartender. "He sounded unstable," my boss said. "Do we need security involved?" "Just document everything." Jason called 6 more times. Security blocked his number. Then he moved on to the apartment. His name had never been on my lease, but he'd received mail there, so he suddenly decided he had tenant rights. One evening, he arrived with a police officer. The officer looked exhausted before anyone even spoke. "Ma'am, does this man live here?" "He used to stay here. His name isn't on the lease." I pointed towards several neatly packed boxes. "Those are his belongings." Jason folded his arms. "That's not everything." The officer looked at him. "What's missing?" Jason hesitated. "My engagement ring." I almost smiled. "The ring you gave back when you canceled the wedding?" "I didn't give it back. She manipulated me." Luckily, after Jason started behaving strangely, I'd begun documenting our confrontations. I showed the officer a video from the night we separated. Jason was clearly visible removing the ring and dropping it onto the table before leaving. The officer handed my phone back. "Sir, that looks like you returned it." Jason's face tightened. Then he pointed inside. "The television. I paid for half." I pulled up the receipt. Paid entirely from my account. Then I showed the officer our payment history. Jason hadn't reimbursed me. The officer sighed. "Sir, take your boxes and leave." Jason did. But apparently humiliation wasn't enough. The next morning, I walked into the parking garage and found a long scratch carved across the side of my car. I stood there staring at it. Then I looked toward the ceiling. Security camera. Jason had forgotten about it. I filed a police report and an insurance claim. Nathan was furious when I told him. "He's losing it." "No," I said quietly. "He's losing control." There was a difference. By Thanksgiving, Nathan and I had stopped pretending we were just friends. His mother, Diane, called me. "Lolita, I heard about you and Nathan." "Yes, this is inappropriate." "How?" "Jason is devastated. You're destroying our family." I almost couldn't believe it. Jason left me for Brianna. He was confused. He called me his backup plan. Silence. Then Diane said, "Nathan is his brother, and I'm not Jason's property." Her voice hardened. "You're not welcome at Christmas." I wasn't planning on coming. Nathan had other ideas. When I told him, his jaw tightened. "She can't ban you." "Nathan, it's going to cause drama." "Good." I stared at him. He rarely raised his voice. "I'm tired of Jason doing whatever he wants while Mom cleans up the consequences." December arrived, and suddenly Jason's upgrade didn't look very shiny anymore. Brianna's startup was struggling. The CBD dog treat market was crowded, and apparently her biggest investor was her mother. Then Brianna posted a photograph from a company party. She had her arm around another man. 3 nights later, at 2 a.m, my phone rang. "Jason?" I almost ignored it. Something told me to answer. "What do you want?" "You ruined everything." His words were slurred. "Are you drunk?" "If you hadn't been so stubborn, I'd still have my backup." He stopped. I sat upright. "You're what?" Silence. "I meant we'd still be together." There it was. The truth he'd spent months avoiding. "Brianna dumped me," he muttered. "That's unfortunate. Take me back." I actually laughed. "We can fix this," he insisted. "I'll forgive you for Nathan." "You'll forgive me?" "Yes. You cheated, tried to manipulate me, called my employer, tried to force your way into my apartment and damaged my car. That's in the past." "It was last month." "Lolita, please. We had 4 years." "And you traded them for a Tesla?" He started crying. Then he said something unbelievable. "I'm going to be a father." I froze. "What?" "Brianna's pregnant." Something about his tone felt wrong. "Jason, Brianna posted yesterday about drinking margaritas in Cabo." Silence. Apparently, he hadn't thought that one through. "You're unbelievable." "I hate you. Stop calling me." I ended the call, but I saved the recording. Christmas Eve came 3 weeks later. Nathan and I arrived at his parents' house, carrying wine and dessert. Diane opened the door and immediately frowned. "You actually brought her?" "Mom," Nathan said firmly. "Lolita is my girlfriend. Deal with it." Inside, Jason was sitting on the couch surrounded by relatives. The second he saw us, his face crumpled. "How could you do this to me?" Nathan stopped walking. "To you? You're rubbing it in my face on Christmas." Something inside Nathan finally broke. "You cheated on her. You dumped her for Brianna. You called her job, damaged her car, and then begged her to take you back after Brianna dumped you." Jason stood. "I was confused. You were calculating." "I never." "You called Lolita your backup plan." The room went silent. Diane looked horrified. "Jason?" "He's twisting everything." I reached into my purse for my phone. Would everyone like to hear Jason explain it himself? Jason's face drained of color. "You wouldn't." Nathan looked at me. I pressed play. Jason's drunken voice filled the living room. "If you hadn't been so stubborn, I'd still have my backup." Then came the begging, the accusations, the fake pregnancy claim. Nobody moved. When the recording ended, Jason looked around the room. For once, there was no Instagram caption that could rescue him. His father, Robert, held out his hand. "Jason, Dad." "Go upstairs." "You're taking her side?" "Upstairs. Now." Jason looked directly at me. The hatred in his eyes was almost frightening. Then he turned and stormed away. The entire house shook when his bedroom door slammed. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Finally, Robert looked at me. "Lolita, I think this family owes you an apology." I thought that would be the end of Jason's campaign against me. I was wrong. Because once Jason realized he'd lost Brianna, his family, and control of the story, He stopped trying to win me back. He decided to punish me instead. I thought Christmas would finally embarrass Jason into leaving us alone. Instead, it made him worse. His first move was creating a fake Instagram account and messaging Nathan's coworkers, claiming Nathan had stolen his fiancée while we were still together. The problem was that people already knew the story. One of Nathan's coworkers was married to someone from my company, where Jason's harassment calls had become infamous. The account was reported and disappeared within days. Then Jason showed up at my apartment. Building security called before letting him upstairs. "Ma'am, there's a man downstairs claiming he's your husband." "I'm not married. Is his name Jason Carter?" "Yes. He's my ex-fiancé. There's a police report involving him." There was a pause. "Understood." I watched through the building app as security escorted him outside. He was carrying a box, probably planning to claim he'd left something behind. That should have been the end. It wasn't. A few weeks later, I received legal papers. Jason was suing me. He wanted $50,000 for emotional damages and what he called his financial contribution to improving my apartment. My attorney read the filing twice. Then he laughed. "He's asking for $50,000 because he bought throw pillows? Apparently he also designed the aesthetic." "The apartment solely in your name?" "Yes, that he paid no rent on?" "That one." The case didn't last long. It was dismissed with prejudice, and Jason was ordered to cover my legal fees. That finally seemed to break something in him. Meanwhile, Nathan and I did the opposite of everything Jason expected. We lived quietly. No revenge posts. No couple hashtags. No carefully staged photographs designed for Jason to see. Nathan moved in a few months later, officially this time, with his name on the lease. "You sure about this?" I asked while he carried his last box inside. "Your mother might actually disown you." He put the box down. "Let her. I'm tired of Jason being treated like the golden child just because he's louder." The family dynamics slowly changed. Robert began calling Nathan more often. Sometimes he even joined us for lunch. Diane remained cold, but her loyalty to Jason became harder to maintain after he moved back into their house and turned half the living room into his personal content studio. Then, one afternoon, I ran into Brianna at a coffee shop. For one uncomfortable second, neither of us knew what to say. Finally, she sighed. Jason was a lot. I laughed, despite myself. "He's something." She hesitated. "You know he told me you were controlling, right?" That caught my attention. "What?" "He said you monitored him, wouldn't let him have friends, and that he was basically escaping you." I stared at her. Jason had been selling two different stories. To me, Brianna was just a coworker. To Brianna, I was the abusive fiancé standing between Jason and freedom. "He told me you were obsessed with him," I said. Her mouth fell open. Then she laughed bitterly. "Of course he did." For the first time, I realized Brianna hadn't been the mastermind I'd imagined. Jason had manipulated both of us. We weren't friends when we left that coffee shop. But we weren't enemies either. Jason's final attempt at reinventing himself was almost poetic. He became a relationship coach. His profile filled with videos about self-respect, recognizing toxic partners, and never accepting less than your value. Unfortunately for him, several former friends had screenshots of Jason bragging about Brianna, screenshots of him calling me his starter girlfriend, and one especially ugly conversation where he joked about keeping me available in case his upgrade didn't work out. Those screenshots started appearing beneath his posts. One comment stood out. "You betrayed her. She just refused to stay your safety net." Nathan showed it to me while we were making dinner. Should I comment? "No." He raised an eyebrow. "Living well is the best revenge." "That's surprisingly mature." I smiled. "Also, I screenshotted it." Nathan laughed. That laugh still did something to me. Because it was real. Nothing about our relationship needed an audience. 6 months after Christmas, I finally returned the engagement ring Jason had given back. For a long time, I'd kept it in a drawer because returning it felt like admitting 4 years of my life had been wasted. Eventually, I understood something. Those years weren't wasted. They taught me exactly what I would never accept again. The money from the ring became part of a down payment. Nathan and I bought a small house. Nothing extravagant. 3 bedrooms. An old kitchen we planned to renovate. A backyard that needed work. But both our names were on the deed. Partners. Jason found out through a cousin. That evening, he posted a crying selfie. The caption was about watching someone else steal the future that should have belonged to him. I didn't respond. Nathan did. Just one comment. "It is mine. Thanks for the upgrade, bro." I stared at him. "You actually posted that?" He looked completely innocent. What happened to living well being the best revenge? "That was your philosophy," I burst out laughing. Jason deleted the entire post less than 10 minutes later. And that was when I finally understood the irony. Jason had spent months convincing himself that relationships were ladders, that every person was either an upgrade or something you left behind on your way to something better. He thought Brianna's Tesla meant success. He thought social media attention meant happiness. He thought I would remain exactly where he left me, waiting in case his new life didn't work out. But I wasn't a backup plan. I was a person. Jason wanted an upgrade. In a strange way, we both got one. His lasted a few weeks. Mine wasn't about money, followers, cars, or appearances. Mine was waking up beside someone who listened when I spoke. Someone who didn't compare me to the next available option. Someone who looked at partnership as something you built, rather than something you displayed. If Jason hadn't shown me who he really was before our wedding, I probably would have married him. So maybe he did give me one final gift. He showed me the door. I was simply smart enough to walk through it.